Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're taking a look at something a little different.
Different is an understatement,
Yeah, you're not kidding. We're looking at Minuteman University.
which may sound like a regular school, but it's actually a hub for people passionate about the Second Amendment.
Right, and they offer all kinds of resources and training for gun rights advocates.
It's pretty remarkable how they've built this whole digital platform.
It is. Their website says, "We believe that everyone has a role to play in protecting our constitutional rights."
Yeah, which really highlights their focus on community and getting people involved.
It seems like they're trying to reach everyone from seasoned activists to people who are just starting to learn about gun rights.
Exactly. And they have all sorts of training programs to help people become better advocates.
Like, what kinds of things are we talking about?
Well, they have courses on creating firearms content, which seems pretty self-explanatory.
Sure.
And then there's guns in language,
Yeah.
which I'm actually pretty curious about.
Guns in language. That sounds interesting. What is that all about?
It's about the way we talk about guns, how language shapes the debate.
Oh, I see. So it's about like framing and rhetoric and stuff.
Right. It's about giving people the tools to communicate effectively, to make persuasive arguments.
Wow. So it's not just about knowing the facts, it's about knowing how to present them.
Exactly. It's about helping people make their voices heard.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like they're trying to move beyond just defending gun rights.
And more towards like actively shaping the narrative, influencing policy.
Right. It's a proactive approach, not just reactive.
And speaking of resources, they have this huge library of information on all sorts of Second Amendment topics.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, you've got stuff about firearm law, building and buying guns, carrying guns, activism,
Really? They've got it all?
pretty much. They even have sections on specific states, broader themes like police and international issues, and even one called CCW Fashion Show.
Wait a minute. CCW Fashion Show. Hold on. I'm not familiar. What is CCW?
It stands for Concealed Carry Weapon.
So it's like clothes designed for concealing guns.
Yeah. Apparently they have a whole section dedicated to it.
That's definitely not something you see every day.
It's definitely unique. It shows that they're trying to appeal to a diverse audience.
That's for sure. It looks like they've organized everything pretty well, too.
Yeah, they have different ways to navigate all the information. You can do a quick browse, explore 2A subjects, or look through their archives.
So they have a ton of info, different ways to find it, and even training programs to help people become better advocates.
It really is like a one-stop shop for everything Second Amendment.
Okay, so we have this online university packed with resources and training, all dedicated to empowering gun rights advocates. It makes you wonder what kind of impact they're having on the whole gun debate.
Right. I mean, they're clearly mobilizing people and giving them tools to participate in the conversation.
So it's not just about owning guns anymore. It's about advocating for those rights, becoming part of a movement.
Exactly. It's like they're using this digital platform to create a whole new kind of activism.
Like grassroots activism, but online.
Yeah, exactly. Minuteman University is kind of like a blueprint for how that could work.
That's an interesting way to look at it. So they're providing the training, the resources, and even the platform for people to connect with each other.
And that has the potential to really shift the balance of power in the gun rights debate.
It's definitely a bold strategy and one that's worth taking a closer look at.
Absolutely. There's a lot to unpack here, both in terms of their approach and the potential implications.
All right, so in the next part, let's delve into some of those potential benefits and drawbacks.
Sounds good to me. There's a lot to discuss.
Yeah, for sure. Like, are they helping to create a more informed and nuanced discussion? Or are they just reinforcing existing beliefs and maybe even deepening the divide?
Lots of questions to explore. We'll pick it up there after the break.
Stay tuned. We were just talking about the massive amount of information and resources that Minuteman University has.
Yeah, they've really gone all out.
It really seems like they're trying to create like a comprehensive resource for anyone who wants to learn about gun rights.
Absolutely. And that kind of in-depth information can be really empowering.
How so?
Well, when people understand the history, the laws, the different perspectives on the Second Amendment, they can become more informed and engaged citizens.
You're saying it could lead to more constructive conversations about guns.
Exactly. When people are armed with knowledge, so to speak, they can have more nuanced and productive discussions, and they can make more informed decisions.
And that could translate to more effective advocacy too, right?
Oh, absolutely. If you can articulate your viewpoints clearly, engage in respectful debates, and create compelling content, you can really make a difference.
So it's not just about shouting your opinions from the rooftops.
No, it's about having the knowledge and the skills to back up your beliefs with solid arguments and evidence.
That makes a lot of sense. But, there's always the other side of the coin.
What do you mean?
Well, even with all this information, isn't there a risk of bias?
Oh, for sure. That's a valid concern.
Even if they have a ton of information, they could still be subtly pushing a specific viewpoint.
That's right. It's essential to be aware of that and to critically evaluate the information they present.
So, do they represent a diversity of perspectives, or do they mainly reinforce existing beliefs?
Exactly. And it's not just the information itself, it's also how it's framed.
Right. Like that gun control is racist section we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's a prime example.
That kind of language can be really powerful, but it can also be inflammatory.
It's true. It can shut down productive conversation instead of encouraging it.
So even though Minuteman University seems like this big comprehensive source, we still need to be careful about taking everything at face value.
Absolutely. Critical thinking is key. Always question your assumptions, consider different perspectives, and seek out information from a variety of sources.
Don't just swallow the information whole. Do your own research.
Right. Dig a little deeper and form your own conclusions. That's how you navigate this complex landscape.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits and drawbacks of all this information, but I want to go back to this idea of Minuteman University as a training ground for Second Amendment advocates.
Right. It's not just about education. It's about empowerment.
Exactly. They're giving people the tools to actively shape the conversation around gun rights.
And that reflects a larger trend we're seeing in activism today.
What do you mean?
Well, we're seeing a shift towards empowering individuals to become their own advocates.
Okay, so it's not just about joining big organizations anymore.
Right. It's about using digital platforms and tools to amplify your own voice.
Like grassroots organizing, but for the internet age.
Exactly. And Minuteman University provides a kind of blueprint for how that can work.
It's pretty fascinating to see how technology is changing the way we engage with these complex social issues.
It really is. But it also raises some new questions.
Like what?
Well, for instance, how do these online communities and platforms influence public opinion?
That's a good question. Do they contribute to polarization? Or do they foster more nuanced dialogue?
And what are the ethical implications of teaching people persuasive communication techniques?
Those are some big questions. Maybe we need to do a whole other deep dive just on that.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
But for now, I think the main takeaway is that platforms like Minuteman University are playing a significant role in shaping the gun rights debate.
Whether you agree with their views or not, it's important to understand their approach and the resources they offer.
It's all part of navigating this complex and often contentious issue. And remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to having informed and respectful dialogues about important topics like the Second Amendment. So before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final thought. So we've learned a lot about Minuteman University, their goals, their methods, and the potential impact they could have on the gun rights debate. But I think it's important to remember that the real impact comes down to the individuals who are actually using it.
Yeah, it's one thing to have all these resources and training programs, but the real question is, how are people actually using them out in the world?
Exactly. Are they using this knowledge to have, more nuanced and productive conversations about gun rights? Or is it just reinforcing existing beliefs and maybe even deepening the divide? It's kind of a big question, isn't it?
It is, and it's not one we can really answer just by looking at their website. To understand the real impact, we'd need to see how people are actually engaging in the real world.
Right. Like, are they using what they've learned to have better conversations?
Yeah.
To advocate for their beliefs in a way that's constructive and respectful?
Exactly. Imagine, sitting in on a town hall meeting or a debate, and someone who's been trained by Minuteman University is there. How are they participating?
Are they able to talk to people who disagree with them? Can they make their points without resorting to, inflammatory rhetoric? Those are the real tests.
Right. It's about moving beyond the hypothetical and looking at what's actually happening. Are these folks actually changing the conversation?
And that brings us back to the bigger picture, right? Minuteman University is kind of a case study in how technology is changing how we deal with these really complex social issues.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool, but it's not a magic solution.
Exactly. There are potential benefits and drawbacks, and the impact really depends on how people choose to use it.
It really highlights the importance of critical thinking. No matter what the issue is, we need to be careful about what we read and who we listen to.
Always question your assumptions. Consider different perspectives. Seek out information from a variety of sources.
Don't just take everything at face value. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions.
Well said. So that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Minuteman University. We've covered a lot of ground today, from their mission to their methods and their potential impact.
It's a fascinating look at the evolving landscape of the gun rights debate.
Absolutely, and hopefully it's given you some things to think about, maybe even inspired you to learn more.
After all, knowledge is power, right?
It sure is. So we encourage you to keep learning, keep questioning, and keep having those important conversations about gun rights.
Remember, it's not about winning arguments, it's about understanding each other.
And finding common ground and working towards a future where everyone feels safe and secure.
Well said. That's a great note to end on.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.